millions of years. See some of the exciting world out there. A day had passed without realizing it. At this time, some people outside had already begun to leave this huge pit and appeared outside the door of the divine amazing palace. They are the ones who didn't notice the nuances in the previous 3 levels. Keep exploring down there. Unfortunately, nothing was found, but instead, he participated in some trials and gained a lot of benefits. As for the rumored god-level alchemists, there were also pills above the lofty 9th grade, which could be said to have not been seen at all. But despite that, none of them wanted to leave. Since this divine amazing palace hadn't been closed yet, it meant that there were still people existing inside, never came out. In other words, the rumored divine alchemy might have been obtained by someone. Therefore, here directly inside 3 layers, outside 3 layers, surrounded by a full thousands of people at the entrance of the cave, just waiting for a hint of a divine great inheritance to wear out, they immediately went up to fight for it. At the place of the high tower of the Medicine King sect, at the entrance of the tower, there was a huge formation that completely surrounded the place. Only one road is exposed. Here and there was a flash of light, and then a person or a group of people came out down the trail. When they came to the giant formation, they stopped immediately and came up 2 men, waiting for the other to bring out all the harvest, and then 70% of it is taken away, leaving only 30% for those who harvest it. Of course, once people from other clans came out, they were simply allowed to leave. The only people charging a fee are just the casuals. On the outside of the large formation were dozens of palaces, large and small. Some of these palaces were grand and atmospheric, some were thick and heavy, and some were sharp. Each and every one of them did not emit a heavy and powerful aura. The mere scent alone made the place oppressive. It was as if a powerful person was suppressing the place. There's a fugitive. Quick, don't let him get away. A loud noise erupted from the trail. A ponderous direct suppression came down. And then, the being wrapped in the darkness, ignoring even the people here, charged straight outward. Seeing that he was about to break out of the encirclement, the Black Shadow's eyes also exuded a look of joy. Where did a tiny transfiguration mortal realm come from that also wants to make trouble here? Get off me! Steeply, that sharp palace, stretching out a pair of white and tender luxuriant hands, and did not see it have any huge sound. With just a simple wave, that Black Shadow was directly suppressed on the ground, unable to move. True immortal realm? How is that possible? The Black Shadow's mouth muttered, a look of disbelief covering his features. Many thanks to Fairy Lang Hua for stepping in and catching the thief. The guards guarding the perimeter immediately ran out one person and said respectfully, "It's a small matter. I was just passing by and heard that something big is happening over here." The owner of the luxuriant hand said faintly, and his breath disappeared from the place. "I can't imagine that even immortal Lang Hua of the Wuji Sword sect has come out here. It seems that things are not small here." The man who ran out whispered, "What do you mean, boss?" The man following at his side immediately opened his mouth to inquire. These people were merely mortal realm and spirit realm cultivators, and the leader of the guards was only a Xian realm cultivator. At this moment, he heard the boss talking to himself and immediately ran up to inquire. That person was a fairy, and cultivators who could be called fairies were at least true immortal realm existences. Only those who are detached from the mortal world can have such a title. Otherwise, such a character, just a drop of information can make a huge difference in their life. That's why they're so eager. Alright, these matters are none of our business. Hurry up and take this person into custody and wait until the stewards of the sects come over to deal with them. The chief of the guards didn't say anything more to these people and said directly. These people of theirs were nothing more than people from the inner and outer sects of the clan, and now they were only forming one squad after another because of special circumstances. Yes, hearing the chief's look of impatience, these patrols didn't dare to say anything more and left the place with the man. Divine Amazing Heavenly Palace, Trial Platform. 2 days had passed after Chu Feng had been injured. He then slowly opened his eyes, and when he did, he slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. It directly punched a small crater in the ground. Almost recovered. Time to get to work. At this moment, Chu Feng, after these 2 days of rest and overall analysis, had a sufficient grasp of this alchemy. This time, he would definitely be able to practice the explosive amazing Dan and obtain the inheritance. Chu Feng confidently took out the spirit medicines that he had put away, and then picked out the spirit medicines that he needed from it in separate categories. Although that blowing up of the furnace had not only caused Chu Feng to suffer a trauma, and there was also a small portion of the spirit medicine that had been destroyed, but most of the elixirs still survived. Under Chu Feng's careful search, and also his selection, in a short while, a copy of the spirit medicine of the amazing explosion Dan was selected by Chu Feng. Let's start straight away without delay. Although the artifact spirit did not say that there was a time limit this time, Chu Feng guessed that according to the artifact spirit's neither cold nor hot personality as well as its behavior of doing things as they should be done, End of chapter. Chapter 126. Chapter 126. As long as Chu Feng and the others did not continue to refine pills here and merely stayed, it would be about 3 days at most, and they would absolutely be expelled. After all, by the looks of the other party, they were looking for an inheritor, not for someone to mess around or linger here. Chu Feng, who was very clear about this, after resting for 2 days, without waiting for his injuries to fully recover, he immediately woke up and began refining pills. The injuries in his body were not something that could be repaired in a moment. Instead of being obnoxious here, it makes the owner just drive him out. It's better to fight to the death, succeed and reap the rewards, and have no regrets if you don't succeed. The spirit medicines are put in one by one, while refining and fusing at the same time in order to make it work. Otherwise, if they are fused all at once, the situation from the last time may still occur. Chu Feng had the experience from the last time, so he did not dare to put the spirit medicine in one pot again. Then when they are liquefied and de-emulsified, a brain fuses them. This was too dangerous, and he couldn't always control it. It's better to play it safe and take it one step at a time. This way, though the elixir doesn't come out with a great quality and the impurities aren't removed well enough, but the likelihood of success can be much higher. It was all worth it to be able to obtain the inheritance. Without realizing it, Chu Feng had also come to the final step, condensing the Dan. As long as he passed this hurdle, then this examination of his would be declared complete. Congeal. Chu Feng's eyes were crimson. His spiritual energy surged furiously in his hands, and in his divine thoughts, it was all output at once. Outputting such a violent energy at once, Chu Feng's body endured an extremely extreme state. If you weren't careful, it was highly likely that your divine mind would be damaged. What's more, fall here. However, to Chu Feng, those costs were all worth it. He had always believed in high risk and high reward, or else he wouldn't have joined in and competed for that little bit of money when the game first started. Then since he wanted to obtain this divine alchemy inheritance, he had to take a big enough risk. Under Chu Feng's full strength, the mixed gelatinous liquid slowly condensed into a solid state. Although there were slight ripples from time to time, they quickly disappeared under his full output. Phew! Almost there! Coming to this extent, Chu Feng slowly let out a sigh of relief. The toughest hurdle is over and the rest is just normal procedure. No one usually has a problem with this step. However, although Chu Feng was confident that there would be no problems above this step, in order to avoid unforeseen circumstances, he was still keeping a close eye on it at all times, because he's still really afraid that this is going to go wrong at the end of the day. Big events like this have really happened more times than you can count in history. He didn't want to be one of those things. So despite the fact that the current him was extremely sleepy mentally, there was also the message of being overwhelmed coming from all the veins inside his body. He hadn't even dared to reduce the output of his divine thoughts and spiritual energy, just for fear of undoing his work. Boom! Suddenly, a force that appeared from nowhere appeared directly in the medicinal liquid that had coalesced into a solid. All of a sudden, it triggered a riot of solid medicines. Pust! Under the shock, Chu Feng's divine idea was once again traumatized, and a mouthful of fresh blood directly gushed out. However, at this moment, Chu Feng could not care about that at all. All of his mind was now put into the alchemy furnace, fully controlling the riot inside. Due to the fact that Chu Feng had put his full mind in it from the beginning, he immediately discovered it when the riot started. Leads to a situation and appears to be irretrievable. It's done! Chu Feng fiercely increased his strength and directly coalesced the remaining pills into shape. There are only 3 of them, and I don't know if they're right. And that quality. Chu Feng took the elixir out and placed it in his hand, and he couldn't help but sigh. It's completely bumpy on top, with no trace of roundness. Instead, it looked like it had been manually kneaded directly into an elixir with medicinal clay. I don't know about the quality of this stuff, but I can tell it's inferior just by the look of it. Linger Palace Master. Junior Cultivator has finished refining the 4th grade explosive Amazing Dan. I wonder if he can come out to inspect it. After obtaining the elixir, Chu Feng did not continue to wait or directly proceed to recovery. The first thing he wanted to ascertain was whether or not this thing was the elixir she wanted, because this elixir might be a little different from what she had asked for. Nothing else was the same except for a slight aura of amazing fire. What? A cry of alarm violently appeared above Chu Feng's head, an urgent sound that caused Chu Feng to clearly understand her emotions. There's just been a few minor problems. Seeing that the other party was not so much mechanical and cold, Chu Feng knew that this should be the person himself appearing. I can't help but be embarrassed. Alright, let's take out this elixir first. Unfortunately, this spirit did not seem to care at all about the flaws that Chu Feng had mentioned, and instead asked him to directly take the item out and inspect it. Yes, having come this far, Chu Feng did not care anymore and descended straight down to take something out and place it on top of the testing alcove. Whoosh! Between a breeze shaking, A moon-white figure appeared beside Chu Feng. "Give me the stuff. No need to put it up for inspection." A voice that was cold, without the slightest bit of emotion, but with delight resounded behind Chu Feng. "You are." When Chu Feng heard the voice, his heart could not help but be startled. He had divine thoughts on his defense, and although he was now severely damaged, it was extremely unbelievable for a person to be able to noiselessly appear behind him. After all, in order to do that, it would mean that the other party's strength was unknown how much stronger than his own. Realizing that he had encountered an expert, Chu Feng's tone took on a somewhat respectful look. "I'm the artifact spirit here. Just give me the stuff directly. Yes or no? I'll just make the test myself." Linger waved her hand and directly stated her identity, while at the same time allowing Chu Feng to hand over the spirit medicine to herself. It was only at this moment that Chu Feng realized that this voice was a bit familiar, and once he thought back, wasn't this person the voice of the artifact spirit here? It was just that he had suffered a severe loss of essence before and had not been able to distinguish it for a while. After knowing the identity of the other party, Chu Feng hurriedly handed these things over to the other party for inspection. Here, she was the examiner. Although the palace master of the divine amazing heavenly palace might have left some means here to restrict the other party, but won't something alive look for a break? It is indeed the explosive amazing Dan, and it's still the latest to be refined. Linger took the black and unruly pills into her hands to check them out, and after directly detonating one, she commented, "There was a mistake or omission with this thing. Originally it was a being that had lava fire as its core, and when it detonated there would be a huge lava flame burning everything. But the one you refined was a simple use of spirit medicines to bring together their medicinal properties, thus accomplishing a less powerful, different explosive amazing pill, where the main ingredient is a combination of spirit powers." In a short while, Linger analyzed the medicinal properties of the elixir as well as its power. "So does this count as a pass for me?" When Chu Feng heard that comment, he could not help but cool a section in his heart. This thing seemed to be 100,000 miles away from the explosive amazing Dan that the other party had asked for, perfectly completing the mission and having an additional line of thought for the refining of the explosive amazing Dan. Linger said with extreme excitement. She was created as an existence for the purpose of developing pills like the amazing explosion pill. It could be said that the refinement of the explosive amazing Dan was everything in her life. And now Chu Feng had not only completed it, but had also displayed an extremely strong talent, developing another path before even receiving the true inheritance. How could this not pass? After all, the existence of the divine amazing heavenly palace was an attempt by the explosive amazing Dan God to open up a path to increase the combat power of alchemists. Alright, for the sake of your initiation, this sacred pill of healing soul returning transmutation Dan will be cheaper for you. As long as you eat it, most of the injuries on your body will be healed. Linger handed Chu Feng an elixir that emitted a strong aura of life, and then she stared at him. "Thank you, Palace Master." Chu Feng was also not polite and appreciated the other party after. After all, his current body could be described as full of holes, and if it was left untreated, it would definitely leave a fatal injury, while also causing his potential to be damaged. He also directly ate this elixir, and instantly a cool breath slowly swam within him. Every time he traveled a section of the road, the injuries on Chu Feng's body became several points better. Discovering such a strong healing ability of this elixir, Chu Feng did not know what to say for a moment. "Call out to me once your injuries are healed, and I'll take you to receive the inheritance later." After Linger dropped these words, she turned around and left. Chu Feng began to heal his wounds. There was no use in staying here. If Chu Feng accepted the inheritance, she might have to follow her out of here. Although she was extremely dissatisfied with this place at first, but now that she had gained the right to leave, Linger instead began to be reluctant to leave. After all, it had survived here for tens or millions of years. There's always a little more emotion. With the help of that cool warm current, Chu Feng's injuries were rapidly recovering. A full half day passed before he slowly stood up. "Linger Palace Master, it's done." As soon as Chu Feng replied, he immediately said, it had taken long enough to wear out here, and if he didn't get out, he felt that Tang Shirshir might just go crazy. When the time came to go back, she was sure to get a scolding for not contacting her for so long. "Alright, follow me." Linger's figure slowly appeared in front of him, and at the same time, with a wave of her hand, a passageway appeared in front of the barrier in front of Chu Feng to come. The two of them, one after the other, passed through 7 turned passages and a multitude of cloisters and palaces and so on. After walking for more than an hour, Chu Feng and the two of them arrived in front of a huge stone wall. "The inheritance is here, and if you pass the test there, you will be able to obtain the inheritance of the explosive amazing pill here, as well as the inheritance of refining pills at the same level as his. Only by mixing them together will you be able to refine and develop the amazing explosion Dan. And take the amazing explosion Dan out of the way," Spirit said faintly. "Which means I'm a test subject?" Hearing those words, Chu Feng immediately reacted.